I'm going to show you a do-it-yourself tire mount on a military Humvee. Essentially be the same thing for any Hummer H1. The Hummer and the M998 and the other versions of the Humvee have a two-piece rim that's a 16.5 inch. It also has a run flat in it, and the run flat can be a little difficult for balancing, causes some ride handling issues. So I made a decision to eliminate the run flat but keep a beadlock on it and go with a set of these Trail Worthy Fabrication PVC inserts. I'm going to show you how to put these in. I'm just figuring it out myself, so you may find a little different technique works best for you. My tire is an Interco Super Swamper 37 by 12.5 by 16.5. This is a direct replacement tire for the military Humvee, either the Goodyear or the BF Goodrich. So let's get started. So the Trail Worthy Fabrication insert has a spot that will line up with the valve stem in the front part of the split rim. This is probably the more tricky part of it, and first one I did went right in, so we'll see about this one. But I'm going to start out with a little bit of lubrication around the edge of this insert. Hopefully that's going to make it slip in. And let that get down in there a little bit. Start getting that slippery around the edge. All right, maybe that'll be enough. It's sliding pretty well right there. All right, that's the first part. And just in case you couldn't totally see, I was putting my feet inside the bottom lip of the tire and pulling up. Once things started moving down, I kind of transitioned my feet over into the bottom of the Trail Worthy Fab hoop and then started pressing down and pulled up on the tire at the same time, and that got inside of it. So now it has to be rotated flat inside the tire. And that's basically it. So the bucket is actually pretty helpful. I'd like to see one a little bit bigger rim, but this is just enough room on the bottom part to hold the back side of the wheel up off the floor. So a couple things. The hole that's on the rim, the spare hole, lines up with the spare hole on the front side of the rim. And you want to be aware of its location during this process because it's crucial that the insert location for the valve stem seal line up. And it's exactly 90 degrees off from the hole in the rim. So we're going to keep an eye on that when we set this tire on here and make sure that that spot is all lined up. In this case, that is right about there, and we want that to line up right. See where it says 80? 80? Got that? We're going to throw that on right there. Go ahead and grab the rim and turn that very carefully. Let it slide down a little. Okay, go ahead and let it slide down. All right. So if you have a bigger bucket lid, it'll be helpful because this is just on the edge of too small. But when you get it in the right spot, it's perfect. So what we've done here is we've lined up the valve stem with that spot, and we can move on to the next part of the install. So the valve stem recess is right up under here. So come around and look. See it right there in the rim. And 90 degrees right here is that matching hole. So one of the features of the Humvee rim is being two-piece. It has to have a seal between the two sections. And the seals actually come in different sizes because they're different rims. There are 24 bolt, 12 bolt, and 8 bolt rims. These happen to be the 12 bolt rims, so you need to know what your application is before you do your swap. When you contact Trail Worthy Fab, they have sort of like a universal O-ring that can work well pretty much with anything that you do, and their O-ring will require kind of stretching it out, getting it ready to go before you put it in. And that's very handy in the event that you don't really know what your rims are, or maybe you don't have your rims yet. Some people are using these rims on different types of rock crawlers and off-road vehicles. But I did find out that there's a part number stamped on the rim. This part number tells which diameter the O-ring is. And this particular one here is a 12460-178, and it's mated right inside. I went around and made sure that all 4 of mine were the same size, and then I ordered the regular government O-ring for it that's made to fit this. Interestingly though, that particular O-ring was still a little bit off when I went to put it in, and it made me uncomfortable just trying to drop it in place. So I opted to use a little bit of adhesive so I can stick it in place, followed by putting the O-ring in the freezer and letting it shrink up good and tight before applying it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. This particular type of adhesive likes to sit for a little bit, get good and sticky. So it's just a basic 3M multi-purpose adhesive. And also put a little bit of soap in here on this lip. That helped keep the adhesive off of it, and to help make it slick before everything goes in. So while that's tacking up, I'll get the O-ring. Okay, nice and cold out of the freezer. And we'll set it in this groove. And there's a little bit of wrestling that goes on with this to get the upper half in place. So it just makes me feel good that I've got a little something holding it here. During the rest of the install. All right. So this is interesting. The O-ring between the split rim, this is the one that I took out of the rim. And it's sort of an orange color. It has quite a bit of a shape to it, a little bit of debris that was stuck to it here and there. But that's what came out of the rim. It's almost a triangulated shape, the way it's been mashed down in between. And the replacement one is indeed an O-ring. So I don't know enough about these trucks to tell you if the original one started like this or if that was a specific one. But this is the right one according to the part number on the rim that goes back in. So thought I'd share that with you. So we've got our front piece cleaned, the mating surface cleaned, we've blown all the dust out of it, O-rings in, and a little bit of soap around the edge. So now I'm going to line that hole up once again. 90 degrees, puts my valve stem over here. This is a little bit of a trick. The valve stem doesn't necessarily want to be your friend right away, but looks like I got it in. And I'm going to get the rubber mallet, tap on this a few times to set it in place. All right, now the fun can begin. I'm going to go ahead and start tightening up the nuts and squeezing the two halves of the rim together. It's important when you do this that you're not just using your basic small pancake compressor. You want to use some good strong air and a good strong impact, because it takes quite a bit of effort to get this last little bit together. These are essentially squeezing the two halves in place. So use a daisy wheel pattern to kind of go around. And pull them in as evenly as possible. And one of my guides, the hole that's split between the two rims pieces, I can see it in here. And so as we approach that center point and they meet together, I can tell that there. We're going to put right about 30 psi in here. Takes a while to get enough air in these big tires. The purpose of that bead lock that's in there, that PVC piece that goes in, it squeezes the tire on both sides the way we just put it in and creates a lock on it, both sides. What's nice about that is when you're on the trail and you need to get extra traction, you're able to air these tires really low, and there's no risk at all of the tire rolling off the bead at that lower pressure. And it's also a necessity because this 16.5-inch rim doesn't have the step in it that you would have in a standard rim that would tend to squeeze the tire on and avoid it coming off. My oh my, it takes a long time to air this monster up. There's an actual warning on this tire as well that indicates that you should not. You should not exceed 30 psi to set the bead. But interestingly, for this particular tire, on this application, the bead is set in place with the bead lock insert. Almost there. That's it. Now this stock tire with the run flat insert in it actually weighs about 160 pounds or something like that. First time I took one of these off, I thought something had gone wrong with me because it's all I could do to lift it and put it on and off the truck. And then I went and looked it up and found out I wasn't getting weaker, my tire was getting heavier. Yeah, so you have to get the air out of the tire, make it safe for splitting the rim apart. And the fastest way to get the air out of the tire is reach in here and take the stem out. Now let that go. Take just a few moments to leak out. So a couple important things to know about tires. A lot of people probably think I'm crazy for replacing these tires because they have tread for miles. I can stick my fingers in here and bury them inside the tread depth without a problem. But tires get old, and when they age or they age out of the proper use, it's a good idea to replace them. So the best way you can tell about your tires, if they were made after the year 2000, you're going to have a basic numeric digit on your tire. It'll come in a 4-digit numeric area. The first 2 digits are the week of the year. The last 2 digits are the year after the year 2000. So we're filming this video in 2019, in November 2019. This particular tire was made the 34th week of 2008. So, you know, you're talking about a 11-year-old tire. And at this age, the tires can be unpredictable in terms of what kind of damage could occur to it or separation of the tread. You want to keep your tires about 6 years or newer, and anything after that you want to go ahead and replace. So this is a costly bit of maintenance, but it's well worth it because a blowout on a big tire like this could be a real problem. So from here, all the tire pressure is removed, so we can go in and take the mounting nuts out. I really feel bad for the guys that have 24 bolt wheels, as cool as they are. It's a lot of bolts to deal with. The 8-bolt wheels would obviously be easier, but I'm actually pulling quite a bit of weight on this truck, and I need the extra weight load. So thanks to YouTube, I saw someone else using this technique. It's absolutely genius. This is the 3rd one we've actually done, and it's pretty painless. We're just going to chain the wheel down. To the engine hoist. And we are using the engine hoist in a way that is completely unnatural. But and that is that. We'll flip it over and do the other side next. So it's been my experience so far doing the back side's a little bit more challenging. Takes a bit more pressure. Of course I said that, and just as I said that, this slid right out of the lip. The back one takes 2 pulls. You have to pull it on one side and then the other. All I'm doing is just grabbing a loop around one of the studs. This isn't even a very heavy-duty chain. We could use a much more heavy-duty chain for this, but so far it's worked fine. Set that on the other side. All right. Should be free at this point, but it's acting like it's going to be a little bit of a hassle. One more pull right here. It's actually hung up on the run flat right now, so I'm going to give it an incentive to come on out. There it is. And that was not a lot of effort. This is the factory run flat right here that comes in these tires. And you'll notice it has the same hoop area across that locks in the bead as that insert from Trail Worthy Fab, but it also has this section up here. Now another interesting thing is there's a lot of grease in here. That's a specialty grease that gets put in and that gets all over everything, that assists in the event of a flat so that the tire doesn't rub and build too much friction inside. But if you're reusing this insert, all you have to do is let it fall down the wheel like you see here. You're going to go back over there on the engine mount just like I did with the rim pieces. Put a strap around this and you can pull this right out of the tire so that you can stick that into another tire if you're going to rerun those. So some cheap insurance here. I have no idea when these wheels were last changed. This is the valve stem, 3/4 inch wrench. Can pull it off. From the back side, of course. I usually use Mac Motors for my OE Humvee parts, and they source these O-rings, and this comes out, and in this case the old O-ring was wanting to hang out. I'll wipe that clean in there and clean up our stem a little bit. It has a nice recess area that holds the O-ring. That's handy to keep it from getting out of place. I'm installing these dry. Thing slides right in place nice and neat. It sits down in the recess and slides right on. And it's pretty handy because the stem on the back side has flat sides on each end. Keeps it from rotating. So as soon as we can get the nut started, which is nice because it's a nylon insert lock nut. Honestly, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to replace that nut as well. The nylon insert. I'm just going to tighten up. Go ahead and hold it on the front side so I don't waller out that insert. Go, nice and tight, ready to hold air. Yes, that's pretty much it. This is our tire mounted, our Trexus Super Swamper. It's a really good looking tire. I'm looking forward to putting it to some use this winter. It's got some siphoning in it that the factory tires didn't have. And I like this extra sidewall protection. Gives you some extra areas that you can grab a hold of. Actually, with the factory tires that are on it, the wintertime is not their friend. So these may be a little bit better. We'll take a look and see, but everything mounts up nice. From here, we'll take it over to the tire shop and let them do the balancing on them, and then we're good to go. Plus, as far as tire pressure, real quick interesting tidbit, this particular tire is 10 or 11 ply. It'll hold about 3,900 pounds at 65 PSI. So this truck that I'm running here is never going to need that kind of weight. Essentially, if you were perfectly mounted, let's just round up to 4,000, that would be 16,000 pounds or 8 tons of carriage weight, and we don't have any intention of running that kind of weight on this truck. These rims are limited to 50 PSI. These tires at 65 PSI hold 3,900 pounds. So what we have to do is a little bit of math on it and get our ratio, our equation between at 65 PSI, we hold 3,900 pounds. And so if we want to start backing down from that, we get an idea what we want to run. But without boring you with a lot of details, for our application, we're going to be running about 32 PSI on these. That's going to give us the load rating that we need and the drivability. It'll still give plenty of ride on the tread. And of course, we go off-road, we can air them way down. So a little bit of science behind it, a little bit of math behind it to make sure you're using what you need, but you certainly don't want to run overinflated or underinflated because it can do damage to the tire and cause some handling issues. So that's it. Good luck. Trail Worthy Fab, great people over there. Helped me out a lot with ideas on how to do this. And the people over at Interco Tire were also wonderful to talk to learn more about this tire and the fact that they took so much time to make them work on these trucks for us. Thanks for watching.